All right. Okay. Naftali Landau's here right on time.
Yeah, 8:42. 8:42. I'm here.
There you go. 9:53. 9:53. Okay.
Okay, enjoy.
All right. So for those that are tuning in now, what happened was I forgot to hit the record because Peretz is in Eretz Yisrael. So I only hit the record partially through the daf. So now we're cutting and pasting here. So it might be in two different recordings. I don't know what Peretz is going to do. Either way, Yutes Amabay is 6 lines up from the bottom. Yeah, so Ba Minei Abaya May Rabba or May Rabba or Rabba. Again, we're talking about people being nifter before Yom Tif and whether Yom Tif knocks out shiva, Shloshim. So here we have a different shabbos. So Ba Minei Abaya May Rabba or Rabba. Kivru Beregel. So if they bury the person on Yom Tif, Regel Oilal Min Shloshim, Ein Regel Oilal Min Shloshim. Does the Shloshim count kick in on Cholamayid, meaning there's no shiva. So shiva is not till afterwards. So shiva is not starting till after Yom Tov. Maybe Shloshim should. So what are the sides of the question? Leminian shiva like kamibayli. For shiva, there's no question. The loy naga mitzvah shiva beregel. Since you're not knowing mitzvah shiva, there's no shiva on Yom Tov. Great shiva starts after Yom Tov, like we learned yesterday. So therefore, you definitely can't start the shiva on Yom Tov. How can you start shiva if you're not keeping halachos of shiva? But shloshim you are keeping. He coming by the minion shloshim. My question is for shloshim. The konaga mitzvah shloshim beregel. You are knowing the mitzvah shloshim and regel. Rashi says that you keep gihutz, which really means ironing, but means laundering, and tispirus is haircuts. So everybody's keeping that. So even though it's not exclusive, even though it's not exclusive to an oval, but everybody's keeping those aveilus. Everybody keeping cholamayid can't take haircuts, can't do laundry. So the bottom line is there is shloshim being kept. So maybe you could start the shloshim clock from Yom Tov, even though shiva clock didn't start, which comes out that the shiva clock won't start till after Yom Tov, but the shloshim clock will start. So what's it then? Amar Le, he said, Eina oila, it doesn't count, and you have to start the shloshim after Yom Tov. What are you saying, Gershon?
Why is the Gemara sometimes referred to it as mitzvah shiva, sometimes xeris shiva? Yesterday was xeris, tonight is mitzvah shiva.
I didn't notice. I'll take your word for it. I don't know, and that's with me reading reading it a second time. And you don't even have a Gemara in front of you, and you're already saying that. Okay, I'm very impressed, or unimpressed with me. So anyway, I don't know, Taka. So he says, "Ain't aveilus." He said it doesn't work. So they want to ask a kasha on this. Another braysa that's interesting because we don't pasken like it. Somebody who buries his mace 2 days before Yom Tif. So mourner chamisha yamim achara regel. So since it was within 2 days, so therefore you get 2 days of shiva, and then you have to finish off the shiva after Yom Tif. There's no shiva on Yom Tif, and this opinion holds that shiva doesn't get knocked off from Yom Tif unless it was 3 days before Yom Tif of shiva. So here you have 2 days of shiva, then you have a 1 week break for Yom Tif, and then mourner chamisha yamim achara regel, you count 5 days after Yom Tif. And his malach can be done through other people, which Tosa says means a davar avid. And his servants can do malacha hidden in his house, and people don't have to come pay shiva calls, as they say, on the 5 days afterwards. Why? So on to Amud Aleph now. Because they already Isaac with him and Yom Tif, which is mashma. The people came; they didn't come to be menachem aval and Yom Tif, but they came to sit with them to be machazekim. Klali shadavar. What's the rule? Kol shu mishum aval. Anything that's there for aveilus, regel mafsika. The Yom Tif stops it. Kol shu mishum iske rabim, and anything that has to do with the public being busy with the person sitting shiva, ain regel mafsika. Then the Yom Tif does not stop it because people are busy. Right? People are busy with trying to help the people, the mourners. So therefore, since people were busy with that shiva does count for, and therefore they don't have to come be menachem aval the 5 days after Yom Tov. Okay, Kivru, that's if they did the burial was 2 days before. Kivru Shloshim Yomim, for regal, but now there's a total different case. If the burial was 3 days, within 3 days of the end of Yom Tov, minus shiva achar regal, so shiva starts after Yom Tov. Arba Yomim, Harishainim, the first 4 days of shiva, after Yom Tov, Rabbi Misaskim by the majority, not the majority, the public comes to be Menachem Oval. Shlosh Yom Machrayim, but 3 days later, Ein Rabbi Misaskim by, then the Rabbi is not busy with it, Shekvar Nisaskel Regal, because they were already executed in the regal. Like we said, the people still come to be Menachem Oval, not be Menachem Oval, but to sit there and to be Mechaz. The regal Oiluloi, and the regal counts for Shloshim. So see the braysa says beferish that you can start the Shloshim count on Chol Moed. And we just finished saying at the bottom of the previous Amud that we don't start the count. So my lava sefer is not going on the sefer, which is when the person died on Chol Moed. And you start the Shloshim count, so you say, no, it's going on the braysa. And the first case where the person passed away 2 days before Yom Tov, in which case then the Shloshim for sure counts, because the Shloshim clock counts starts from then, because the Shloshim started. Fine. So Eisvei Regal Oilul Minyan Shloshim. So Yom Tov counts for the 30 days. Ketzad covered with chilas regal if they buried him at the beginning of Yom Tov, right, on the first day of Yom Tov. Minus shiva achar regal. So the shiva, like we know, starts after Yom Tov. Malachte nasasai de'acherim, and the malach can be done by others. Avada b'shulchos v'aysim b'tzina b'say peisai. And the avodim and the shvachos can do a patzina in his house. Ein rabbi misaskim by shekvar nisaskim by beregel, and you don't need to nobody has to come be menachem oval because they were already being busy with it on Yom Tov. The regal oiloloi, and here's the main point, and the Yom Tov counts towards the shloshim. So you see beferish that Yom Tov, when somebody dies on Yom Tov, the shloshim clock starts right away. It doesn't start at the same time as the shiva. So tiyufta, that slugs it up. And therefore, we do start the shloshim clock on Yom Tov. Right? Kiyasa Rabin. When Rabin came, Amar Rav Yochanan, afilu kibur beregel, even if he buries him on Yom Tov, v'chein ayri le Rebbe Lazar, Rebbe Pedas, bray, afilu kibur beregel. He said to Rebbe Pedas, his son, that even if you bury on Yom Tov, the shloshim clock starts from there. Okay, the rest of this shear of this daf is on the other recording. Okay, Zagazant. I didn't hit record. Okay, I'll go back and I'll record the first part later. Been done that before. I hope not to have to do it again. But anyways, if anybody wants to make sure the ha'aras are on the recording, stay on after. It's a ton of rabbanon, yeah.
I'll have to repeat all my bittul that I did also, so everybody gets.
Okay, all right.
The Musar Seder is not going to be taped anyway.
No, right. The Musar Seder is not
totally
taped.
hasn't spoken since the Musar started.
But he's a humble fellow. Anyway,
well, just so everybody knows, I was there on time.
There you go. Okay, we'll make sure to say. We'll make sure to call you out. Okay, so Tana Rabbanan. Kayim kviyas hamita shleisha yom kaidem regel. Right. So if you turned over the bed, right? We learned that one of the things that an ovel has to do is turn over the bed 3 days before the Yom Tov. Ein tzarich l'chaysa achar regel. You don't have to turn it over after the regel. Why? Because we said shiva's over. If somebody dies with more than 3 days before Yom Tov, shiva's over. Even if he dies 1 day before Yom Tov, and even 1 hour before Yom Tov cancels it out, which is the way we pasken, right? Which we'll see. Some are Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon. Hein divrei Beis Shammai, hein divrei Beis Hillel. These are the sheet of Beis Shammai, and these are the sheet of Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai, Amrim Shloisha Yomim. Beis Shammai says he has to have died 3 days before Yom Tov. You have to have 3 days of shiva before Yom Tov. Beis Hillel, Amrim Afilu Yom Echad, and Beis Hillel says even 1 day is enough, which is interesting because there was no Mishnayos, right, of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel arguing with this, correct? It's just the Gemara saying it. Am I mistaken? Right? The previous Mishnah didn't bring as a Machlokes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Maybe it's a later Mishnah. I don't think so. Okay.
We have Beis Shammai or Beis Hillel yet in Moed Katan.
We have not, right?
Right.
Yeah. I hear you. So I don't know. I don't know what the pshat is. I mean, I know what I'm saying. It's interesting that Beisham Vishil are not brought in the Mishnah, it's brought in the Gemara. Okay, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav Chiya bar Abba, Amar Rav Yochanan, Varmila, Amar Le Rav Yochanan, Rav Chiya bar Abba, Le Rav Huna, Afilu Yom Echad, Afilu Shah Achas, even 1 day and even 1 hour. But not meaning they have to bury him before Yom Tov. If you don't get the burial in before Yom Tov, then the shiva is going to start after Yom Tov. Right? Rava Amar Halacha Katan Digdag Amar Shloshim. Yeah.
What you just said about burial, does that make a difference where the Ben HaGadol is? The Ben HaGadol is there, and the shiva starts before Yom Tov.
You mean, and they don't bury?
Yeah, even if they don't bury.
Yeah, I don't know what the case. That's tomorrow's daf actually, but I don't think it's. The Gemara is not going to discuss this.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So Rava Amar Halacha Katana Didan Damar Shloshim. Rava says the halacha is like our Tana, who says it has to be 3 days before. Hold on, you got to mute it. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Yaakov, how do you have some Tanoim that say? How does Rava say halacha is like our Tana? That means if that's Beisham Shita. How do they say the halacha is like our Tana? How does Rava say that?
Right. So I wonder if he. I don't know. I wonder if it means that he didn't know that Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Is it fair to say that? I don't know.
It was a braysa that said hein.
It wasn't a braysa, no.
The braysa, right? So you didn't know the braysa that said hein.
It was a Tana that said it. Rav Elazar Rav Shimon.
Right, but it's a braysa. It's brought down in a braysa. It's not brought down in a mishnah. It's just interesting that he didn't know that.
No,
I wonder if
Shas changed it to Mishnah.
Okay, but either way, it's still not Beis Shammai, right? Yeah. I don't know. I wonder if that has to do with it because it's not there, right? I mean, it's not in the Mishnah of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, so maybe it has a different status. Okay. So, anyways, halacha, he says halacha is like our Tana that says Shloshim. Ravina ikul the surah the paras. Ravina traveled to surah of paras. Amar le Rav Chaviv le Ravina hilchos amai. What is the halacha? Amar le afilu yom echad afilu sha'achas. Even 1 day, even 1 hour. Yeah. And that is lamaisa the way we pasken in Shulchan Aruch. Yeah. I mean, you could also ask a kasha, why am I saying even 1 day, even 1 hour? Just say 1 hour. Right? Okay.
Laizu afsu. What do you mean? That's a laizu afsu.
Okay, I'm saying it's not like it's a Mishnah that's saying it. No. Okay. Fine. Yasser Rav Chiya bar Abba Rav Ami, Rav Yitzchak Nafcha, Akila Rav Yitzchak ben Elazar. They were sitting on the killer, what's at the porch of Yitzchak ben Elazar, Nafak Milsa b'Minayo, and something came between them, meaning they had a conversation. Minayin la aveilus shiva. Right? So how do you know that aveilus is 7 days? Right? Yesterday we had, how do you know that there's 30 days? Now we're asking, how do you know aveilus of 7 days? Right? Tichsiv, and then we have to wait for your question, Akiva. How do you know it's a year? But I don't think the Gemara discusses it. Anyways, I'm going to turn your Yom Tif into Ava. Ma'chag shiva, af aveilus shiva. Just like a Yom Tif lasts 7 days, so therefore aveilus also lasts 7 days. So Gemara asks, maybe it's referring to Shavuos, which is 1 day. Gemara answers, no. That we need like Rish Lakish. How do we know that a shmur rechaika, which means that somebody doesn't find out about the death until a long time after, meaning far away? That's shmur rechaika. He hears about it far away. That's not a location, meaning it's a time. He hears about it way after the burial happened. How do you know that when he hears about it, he just has aveilus for 1 day? So we're going to say that atzeres, Shavuos, we learn out from Shavuos to that situation. Right? That if somebody doesn't hear about the burial till much later, so then he only has to keep 1 day. So a standard oval we learn out from regular Yom Tov 7 days, and if somebody who hears about it much later, we learn it out for
Yaakov, let's say you
learn
don't
out
know
from
when
Shul
they
for 1 day.
died. Where would that fit into?
You don't know when they died?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is that considered like not hearing about it till later?
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. They only know like from accidents and stuff, like Nebuch with the 9/11. So they knew. They just had to find proof that the people were in there.
Right. That would be a classic case. I'm saying, but let's say you're not sure if they're, they're nifter or not.
You know, like somebody goes overseas and you don't know, right?
Right.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What is he asking? You start the 7 days from when you found out, no?
Yeah, but
No,
if you don't know when
no.
if you don't know when if you find out later when the exact date was, so that you do for 1 day because you know exactly they died months ago. But if you don't know when they died and you just find out later they're dead, I don't know. If you don't know if they're dead or not, I don't know.
Wait a minute. Somebody's missing and then you don't know if he's dead?
Correct.
Yeah, and then so you don't. So is
you're
it
not
a
sitting
shul
shiva. You're not sitting shiva for him until you know he's dead.
Let's say you find out he's dead, but you don't know when he died. On 9/11, you knew exactly when they died. It's just you couldn't prove it till months later.
A guy goes missing and you don't know if he's dead, right? You're saying your guy went missing and you know he's dead, so you know when he died.
How do you know when he died?
How do you know he's dead?
You find out now, but he could have died months ago.
So you don't you from today when you found him?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
The question is, what do you call it? Would you use forensics in this?
You're saying
What's the option that you would start retroactively? I mean, you can only start from today.
No, he's asking maybe you only have to sit 1 day. That's what he's asking. Maybe you only have to sit 1 day, not
maybe
7
this
days.
guy died 2 months ago and we found him now.
Correct.
Right. It could be he died today. We don't know. If you don't know when he died, then it may take you to start only do it for 1 day.
Right. So what it's okay. I would think that once you find out, that's you would have to sit a regular shiva, but right.
You have no way of proving when he died, right?
No. What happens if the forensics they say this he's been dead for 30 days? Now you need to keep 1 day or 7 days.
Oh, you gotta go there, right? I don't know.
Like, let's say the body's rotting.
And that's not the same thing as Rechoka?
That's what he's asking. Is that considered rechaika? I don't know. Unless you say that maybe there was no shiva. Does it go with the death or does it go with whether there was family already sitting? I don't know. No, Pashta's not. I don't know. Let's see, Viter. Maybe we'll get it clear. I don't think so, but let's at least to this question. So let's see. So Tana Rabbana, yeah, 3 white lines out. Shmua Kraiva Neheges Shiva Ushloshim. Shmua Kraiva, that's the regular thing. You hear the news right away. That's Shiva and Shloshim. Shmua Rechaika and Neheges Eliyamecha. But Shmua Rechaika is only Noyeg 1 day. Ezi Kraiva, Ezi Rechaika. How do you define Kraiva? How do you define Rechaika? So Kraiva besides Shloshim, if the person hears about it during the 30 days, then they have to sit standard Shiva. Meaning if a person finds out on 29th day of Shloshim, then they have to sit Shiva and count their own Shloshim. But Rechaika is after Shloshim.
So then does Shloshim start from then also?
Yes, yeah.
So it's not really Shloshim. It's not Shloshim. It means Shloshim days after the death.
Correct. Right. Exactly. Disagree and they say everybody always has to keep Shiva and Shloshim. Anytime you find a minority opinion is lenient and the majority is machmer, halacha karabim. The halacha is like the rabbin. Chutz mizu, except to hear shaval pisher b'kiva mekel, even though he's the more lenient, but chama machmirin. Halacha b'kiva, as we know, damar shmuel. Halacha k'tivrei mekel ba'avol. Halacha is like the mekel by avol. So we're going to go with the das yachid, right? And Taisa says it doesn't mean, it means anytime. We always go with the rabbin, right? So now what some people use this din is, if let's say you have somebody elderly who's not going to have the koyach to sit shiva. So what a lot of times they do, obviously a shiloh should be asked if it's the proper thing to do, but a lot of times what they do is they will not tell the person that their siblings, usually a sibling, died. Right? You have an elderly person in their 90s, they're not going to be able to sit shiva. Right? Either emotionally, physically, both, or dementia. Dementia is also a lot of times. So they don't bother to say it till after 30 days. Then they tell them, which a lot of times it's not even kedai to tell. Why even bothering to tell them? But if they decide that they do want to tell them, so then they just tear kriya and they sit down for a minute, and then that's it. Mix asayim kakuloi, and then that's it. They're over with. Right? Yeah. So that's when we implement this halacha. Fine. So let's see. Right. So Reb Chanina heard that his father died from what do you call it? How do you touch this? Right, from Beichuzai. So also Lakamed Rav Chista. He said he died a long time ago, so you only keep one day. He heard about his mother. She died from Beichuzai. You only keep one day. So that's only by the 5 Meisei mitzvah, right? Now that doesn't mean like Meis mitzvah, right? That's son, daughter, brother, sister, wife, right? But for a mother and a father, then even if you hear about it later, you still have to wait shiva and shloshim. So Amalei Yichidahi, he said to him, that is a minority opinion. We don't go with him, right? Because that's a minority opinion. That's strict. The Tanya Maiso Meis Avashur Reb Tzadok begins it. Reb Tzadok's father died in Gidzik, but the you Lacha Shloshim, and they let him know about it after 3 years. Uba V'Shalas Elisha ben Avuya Zekanim Sheima, and they came and they asked Elisha ben Avuya and with this Kanim, Nog Shiva V'Shloshim, and they said, you know Shiva V'Shloshim. Ukashemeis ben Aisha Rebbe Chiya Begoila, and when the son of Rebbe Chiya died in Goila, Yashav Alav Shiva V'Shloshim, he sat Shiva V'Shloshim, right?
It's Yahoo. Why does he have to say Yichidahi? Why don't we just say we pass like Shmuel? We go but the different maker.
Oh, he's saying
we already had a round
that
said like this also. So you don't need to tell me Yichidahi, because the reason why it has nothing to do with the Yichidah, the Rabbin passing like him also. But the reason why we don't pass like him is because we passing like Shmuel. It says we go bust the maker always.
No, but but this, what do you mean?
The Gemara is.
You should just go with the maker.
Oh, they're saying that din only applies.
We're saying that din would only applies to the 5, but not to parents.
Where's the other sheetas though that hold that way?
Yeah, that is the one he just brought. He said
where's
that
the
braysa. What are you saying?
Where's the sheetas that don't hold this chelik?
I guess the ones that don't say it don't hold of it. No.
I hear. I mean, is there any one brought down like that? Or there's Stam saying that's the Yichidah, and Ba'etzim everyone else holds it. Rabbi Kiva was the Yichidah that doesn't hold that way. So,
right, and then this is a Das Yachid who says that Rabbi Kiva doesn't apply to parents.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, but it's a Yichidah that's for Lechumra, so we don't go with it. So when it says Aini, it's not true, right? For Harav Baruchu de Reb Chiya, Rav. You need this is a little bit of prep for Yavamas right here. Okay, Rav was the son of Rav Chiya's brother, whose name was Rashi says Evu, right? Dehu Barach Seder Rav Chiya. He was also, we had this in Pesachim. Where do we have this? We had in Pesachim, no? Yeah, Pesachim. Right. So he was both. He was a brother. It was a nephew from same uncle and aunts, right? So they married stepsisters, step siblings. So Kisalik Lahasam, when Rav went there, right? He went from Babel to Eretz Yisrael. Amar Lei Abba Kayim. he said, "Is your father alive?" Now on Talmud Beis, Amar Le. So they said to him, "Ima kayemis." Right? Is my mother alive? Amar Le, Ima kayemis. So the chiya said to him, "So is your mother alive?" Amar Le, Abba kayim. Is your father alive? So he chapped that they didn't want to give him bad news. So he realized they didn't want to give him bad news. Every time he asked about the mother or the father, they said the opposite. So
What is
Amar Le,
Rashi saying? The top Rashi.
well,
Kayamis.
meaning because otherwise it's Rashi saying that it has to be that they answered a question with a question. Otherwise, it's a lie.
That's just
Right?
modern places, right?
What?
But that's otherwise it's a lie. No, Rashi, the first Rashi, Ema Kayamis,
Right. Sheilahu, Klemesha'ata Shoyal al Avi. Were you asking about my father? Ask about my mother, because she's also your sister. Right. Right. So meaning again, he said to him, "Is my father alive?" So if you read it without a question, you could say, "Your mother's alive." Then he says, "Is my mother alive?" He says, "Your father's alive." So that means he lied.
That
right?
was Prince's second shot. He didn't like.
Yeah. Okay. So that's right. So that's okay. Yeah. So Taisus, that's a long Taisus on Amud Aleph, goes through exactly what exactly meant. Either way, the point is that he was avoiding telling him anything. So he was avoiding telling him the bad news. So what he did, Amar le l'shameh, second line down, he told the shames, "Chaloitz li manali, take off my shoes, right? V'haylach acharei kli lebeis hamerchatz, and then take my clothing to the bathhouse, right?" So meaning, he said, and he took off the shoes because he became an obel. He just heard bad news, and it was a shmua rechaika, right? So shma mina tlas. We hear from this case three halachos. Shma mina obel asa b'nei sasanel. Obel can't wear shoes. That's why he took it off. Shma mina shmua rechaika ein neheges ela yom echad. The shmua rechaika is only one day. Shma mina mixas yom kekuloi. Now we learned that as long as you sit shiva for a little bit, that's it. So that's all he did. He took off his shoes. And he said, I guess he sat down. The Gemara doesn't say that he sat down, but he must have sat down. Somebody must have been Menachem Ovel. And then he went on his merry way.
Why is it Shmur Rechaika? How do we know this case?
Because he came from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, and he asked how my parents are doing. So that I had to be there. It was a long time before that. Right? If it was less than that, they would have told him that. Right?
Oh.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. Whatever it is, so how come before it said Rabbi Chiya kept 7 days and 30 days, and here it's saying he only kept 1 day? So Gemara says Rabbi Chiya l'chud and Rabbi Achia l'chud. It's two different people. One is Rabbi Chiya and one is with Rabbi Achia with an aleph before. So it's two different people. That's why it's not a stira. Right? Okay. Fine. So Amar Rav Yossi bar Avin Shama Shmua Kroiva Berega. So let's say you hear a Shmua Kroiva Berega, right? Meaning you hear about during Yom Tif that it's within 30 days. Let's say middle of Yom Tif, they say, by the way, 25 days ago somebody's parent died. But so there's no shiva, obviously. And then by the time Yom Tif is over, it's already after 30 days. So now, do you go with when he heard about it, or do you go with when he could have potentially sat shiva?
He's already being noig Shloshim.
What?
Don't we pass that he's already being noig Shloshim during the regal?
Right, but he wasn't noig shiva.
How do you? So he's going to be noig more days beforehand. He's going to start his count for Shloshim beforehand, and then only do 1 day afterwards.
Well, the question is, he doesn't need to do anything, maybe, right? I mean, whatever. It's just a 1 day thing.
Right, but my question is, he was already started the Shloshim count.
Yes.
In the regal. So how do you do that and then go to 1 day?
What I mean, because if at the end of the day his shiva was not, he didn't have to sit shiva because it was after 30 days.
Is that a problem? You could just
1 second.
Why is that a problem?
If someone hears about it within 30 days, he sits a full shiva. Let's say he hears it in 29 days. He sits a full shiva.
Yeah.
So what if he hear 29 days and it's Erev Pesach? Does the Yom Tov break up that shiva, or he has to do it?
No, yeah, Yom Tov should break up the shiva. I'm assuming Yom Tov breaks up the shiva. Why not?
because he didn't die before Yontif. He just found out about
Sure, he
it.
did. He died way before Yom Tov.
He died way before.
Right, but the shiva started before. As long as the shiva starts before Yom Tov knocks it out. Here is the opposite. Here he finds
He
out,
found out on Yontif. Now does he have to sit after? I understand. Yeah. Okay.
and once after is done, so the 30 days is over.
Yeah.
So again, shama shmua krayva beregel u'matzeh regel nasis rechayke. Oilalay ve'ein nayig ela yom echad. It counts, and he only has to keep one day. Right? Tani Rabbi Ada min Kesari Kamed Rabbi Yochanan. Shama shmua krayva b'Shabbos. Let's say you hear a shmua krayva on Shabbos. Right? So Shabbos is the 29th day. Well, the Shabbos to a 30th day actually. The Moed Shabbos nasis rechayka. Right? It becomes the 31st. Ein noyeg al yom echad. He's only noyeg one day. Fine. Now the Gemara says, Kareya ain't a Kareya. Does he tear Kriya? Does he not tear Kriya? This fellow that after 30 days finds out about the relative dying, he keeps 30 days or not? I'm sorry. Does he tear Kriya or not?
What's the show? Why not?
What? I'll say because maybe they're connected. Let's see. Ramani Amar ain't a Kareya. Ramani says he doesn't tear Kriya. We'll see in a second why. Reb Chanina Amar Kareya. Reb Chanina says no, he does tear Kriya. It's good according to me that I say you don't tear kriya. There's no aveilus of shiva. So if he's saying that there's a connection between shiva and kriya. If you're sitting shiva, you tear kriya. If you're not sitting shiva, you don't tear kriya. Right? That's what he says. There's a direct correlation. But according to you, that says that you do tear kriya below shiva. Because there's such a thing as tearing kriya and then not having shiva. So the Gemara says v'loi, and there's no such thing. We'll find a case that has that. V'tani isi avud Reb Zera, v'amri achud Reb Zera, kamei de Reb Zera. They said in front of Reb Zera, misha ein loi chaluk l'kroya. Let's say somebody doesn't have any clothing to tear kriya. Right? What does that mean? He doesn't have clothing to tear kriya. He's going naked to the levaya. Right, so pshat is, so Taisa says, but in that long Taisa Kareya, it's talking about where he borrowed his clothing. When you have borrowed clothing, you don't have to tear kriya. It's not yours. You're not allowed to tear kriya. That's the shtick that people do when they go to the kaisel and they don't want to tear kriya. So what you do is you sell your clothing to somebody, and then it's borrowed, so you don't have to tear kriya. Whether that's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, I believe it's the wrong thing to do.
Why isn't the kaisel a riot to kriya without shiva?
That's a special din. That's a special din al churban, I think.
Are you allowed to, let's say you have to tear kriya, change and then tear kriya?
Any shirt that gets worn during shiva has to be torn.
No,
so
what
for
I'm
whatever
saying is
reason,
when you hear the news.
Oh, so Me'ikra, no, when you hear, it's funny, somebody just texted me this Shaila.
Because you always see people, wearing a white shirt or whatever it is. I'm just saying.
Yeah, because by whoever's at the patira, whoever's in a room when the nifter is somebody's nifter is supposed to tear kriya, everybody, even non-relatives. But that's another din of aveilus that seems to have gone away. People,
I think doctors are excluded.
Doctors mustama have a heter, but especially
when you hear the news,
scrubs.
you tear kriya right then. You can't change or whatever it is.
Yeah, but you're not really supposed to hear them. You're not supposed to really tear when you hear the news if you're going to be by the levaya, right? So the reason why you see some people that they're tore is because they were probably at the patira. But I think nowadays the minig is that they don't do it. I did it by my father, but I don't know. I think the minig is that they don't do it. But yeah. So anyway,
to Naftali's question, we do have shiva for the coastal. Every shvur shechal beitishva.
Okay, but that's not. I'm saying if you're not.
Yeah, and shiva.
Oh, but when you go there after not being there for 30 days, you're tearing kriya. That has nothing to do with shiva. That's what he was saying.
Not connected, but we do have it.
Okay, I don't know how direct a connection has to be. I don't know. Yeah. So, anyways, so he said, if somebody doesn't have a shirt to tear, then he gets his delivery of a shirt during shiva. Right now, obviously, it can't be a clean shirt because he can't put it on during shiva. So I don't know exactly what maybe throw it on the ground, whatever. Then he does carry it. La'achar shiva ain't a carry, but if he finally gets a shirt after shiva, then not. then he doesn't tear. So you see, only ribs 1 second. So let's see the proof. Only ribs zera basrei b'medva v'chamisha meisei mitzvah. That's only by siblings and children. Aval al aviv al imay kareya v'haylach. But for a mother and a father, you have to tear kriya, even though shiva is over. So you see clearly that there is such a thing as tearing kriya when there's no shiva. So Gemara answers, that's because a special din of covered for the father and the mother. But really, you would not tear kriya, right?
Why don't we see from here that losing money is included in its kibbutz?
Losing money?
Yeah, usually we say the mitzvah kibbutz. If you have to spend your own money, you don't have to do the mitzvah.
Right.
Here you have to rise kriya for kibbutz.
Yeah, but I think it's.
I thought you were going to say it's a davar of it to rip up a shirt.
No, that's halachos. We don't say it here. Fine.
Right.
But it is using your own money to do mitzvah kibbutz.
Yeah.
You're not going to rip a shirt for a person's parents if all they did for you, shame on you.
Yeah, but he's saying that
I'm
the
not
parents would have to.
complaining
He
about it.
wants
I'm
to
asking
charge
the other way.
He wants to charge the parents for the shirt.
All the
But
kids.
I really
want
meant
that.
it the other
Take
way.
it-
I meant it in
Take it from the
other way.
Yerusha. Yo, take it from the Yerusha.
It's his money.
Sounds like a
anyway now.
Jackie
Yeah.
Mason
Something to him
situation.
anyway.
I meant it the exact opposite way. We should prove from here that you do have to spend money on mitzvah kibbutz.
Okay, but that's okay. I don't know how you would. I don't know if it's a raya necessarily, right? Yeah, but Lamaisa, that's the way we pasken. That if somebody hears about it from a sibling, if somebody hears about a sibling dying after shiva, whatever, after shiva they do have to tear, but after shloshim, then they don't tear kriya. Only for a parent would they tear kriya.
Als kibbutz?
I'll keep it avein. Yes, I'll keep it avein. Which we said yesterday, and then somebody told me today that Ramosha writes it in the tshuva. I didn't see the tshuva, but that because Akiva had asked yesterday, what's the makar for the year? So the makar for the year we said was really it's just I'll keep it avein. It's not a din in aveilus. I mean, it is a din in aveilus, but the din is I'll keep it avein. Right. So you see that there is extra mourning that has to be done for the kibbut avein. Right. Okay, fine. Anything that it says in the parsha of Kohanim that the kohen becomes tamei to, aval misaval and the aval that has aveilus. Right. Normally, a kohen is not allowed to become tamei meis, but for the shiva kriv and for the 7 relatives, he's allowed to. And whatever those 7 relatives are that a kohen makes himself tamei, so that's what somebody has to sit shiva for. Ve'eluhein. Ishtoi, his wife, Aviv, Ve'ima, his parents, Achiv, Achaisai, siblings, Benai, Upitoi, and children. Haisifu Aleyan, Achiv, Achaisai, Absula, Me'imoi. They added on his half brother, not half, but his brother from the mother and the sister from the mother. Right? And also, V'achaisai, Nesua, Ben Me'av, Ben Me'imoi, and also a married sister, whether it's from the mother or from the father, right? We pasken
a half sibling.
Yes, half yes. Step me'ikra din no, half yes.
But I'm confused because I'm not sitting in front of the Gemara. What do you mean they added on? For a kohen, he can be matami for them, or for halachos aveilus? Non-kohen.
No, they added on for aveilus, not to kohen. Kohen would not be able to. Thank you for letting me clarify that. A kohen would not be able to come tamei, but the aveilus, yes. Now it says from the mother. Tosfos says that doesn't mean it's for sure from the father also. Don't think just from the mother. It's a half sibling from the mother. It's of course a half sibling from the father.
Well, so why didn't we mention that?
Because I think it was pashut that from the father. It says loimi boy. Tosfos says loimi boy from the father for sure. From the mother, even from the mother. Fine.
Rashi says that also.
Rashi.
Achiv me'imai.
Which Rashi?
Does Rashi the pasuk is mashman that way? That is from
okay, I forgot. Right, I forgot. So Rashi says it. Yeah. Very good. Thank you. Anyway, so Kashem
why are half siblings a chiddush?
Huh?
Why are half siblings a chiddush? Wouldn't a kohen be matami for a half sibling?
I don't
And
think so.
Erevit's included in the same pasuk. Achoisai includes his half sister.
I don't know. Well, once they get married, for sure not. Once they get married to
that's for
Yisrael,
sure.
for
That's-
sure.
yeah.
Right. So that's right. I don't know. I think no, half is not enough. It's not enough for a kohen.
I think a father's a sister from the father, you would have to be matame, but not from. Meaning, if it's only from the father, you still have to be matame. That's what Rashi's saying. That's what the pasuk's saying when it comes to kohen being matame. It's mashma only from the father, not from the mother.
Right, because from the father it has more.
So
of
a
a
half
than the
sibling
mother.
would, but it's the pasuk's mashma only from the father.
Right.
That's how we know this.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah. So anyway, so that's what the Rabbanan added on, that half siblings also there's aveilus. Right. So kashem shem is aval aleim, kach was aval al shniyim shalahem. Now this is already a bigger chiddush. And the same way that there's aveilus for them, then the second level, this get ready for Yavamas, right? The second level relatives is also, right? Because they're pasalaidus, right? Which means grandparents and grandchildren, right? That's what it means. That they would also have to be shiva for. Rebbe Kiva, that's Shita's Rebbe Kiva. Reb Shimon Elazar Aimer, Eina Misavel El Al Ben Benai.
One second, shiva, but not matama though.
No, not matama. No, shiva only. Yeah.
That's a shot of why a grandchild, let's say, can't go to a wedding if his parents are sitting.
Oh, so we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that in a few minutes. We're going to get to that, right? So, Aimer Eina Misavel El Al Ben Benai Val Avi Aviv. So Reb Shimon Elazar says only on grandchildren, grandparents. That's it. And Taisa says it means that avi imay or bas bito. It doesn't necessarily mean boys, even girls. This is the way we pasken. Whoever is in aveilus, you have to also be in aveilus as a show of solidarity. So if one's parent, that's what you're referring to. If one's parent is in aveilus, so anybody who would have to sit shiva for the parent who's sitting shiva also has to keep aveilus. So if a spouse is like the in-laws die, which we'll see in the Gemara soon, or brothers-in-law, sisters-in-law, whatever it is, so in solidarity, the person has to show aveilus.
That's why it was a shiloh. That's why it was a shiloh.
To what extent?
Well,
that's why it was a child. My kids can go to your daughter's chasana when they're sitting shiva.
Correct. Correct. Right, exactly. So Chachamim Hainu Tanakama. The says that's the Tanakama that you have to sit shiva for the second level relatives. No, Ikabenayu Imoy Babayas. This is an important teretz. The difference between them is if he's living with the person who's sitting shiva, if they live in the same house. Like Rav told to Chiya his son, in front of your wife who's sitting shiva, you have to be noyeg aveilus. But when you're not licensing aveilus, you don't have to. Right? So then he's saying
it's like a raya for marriage party behind the scenes.
That's right. Go on a business trip and then you don't have to keep any of the aveilus. Yeah. Okay, let's see weiter till we get to the bottom of this. Yeah. So there's a Taisus that actually says that you have to keep all the dinei aveilus. You can't wear shoes, you can't take showers, you can't schmear, nothing. Right? Now and then he brings from the Gemara and Ksubis that it means dafka maybe in front of her, or does it mean in the whole house if she's home? You know what I mean? And then some say meaning if she's local. Okay, so let's see weiter. So Mar Ukva Shachav Le Bar Chamua. Mar Ukva, the son of his father-in-law died, which means his brother-in-law died. He thought, okay, I have to sit shiva and shloshim because his wife is sitting shiva and shloshim, so he also has to. All Rav Huna Lugabei, Ashkechei, Rav Huna went to him and found him. Amar Lei, this is where yeshiva guys get their sharp ways to answer. Amar Lei, Suda Nisa Bais Lamechel, you want to eat a big Suda? Meaning Avelim always get fed, right? So he says, "What? What's with you? You want to sit shiva? You're in the mood for good food? Is that what you're doing? Right? Why are you sitting shiva for your brother-in-law? Right? When they said that you have to sit shiva, if the wife is sitting shiva, that's if she's sitting shiva for her parents, not for in-laws. Right? The Tanya, because we have in a braysa, if somebody's in-laws die, he cannot force his wife to put on makeup. Right? And here's where you see that an oval can't put on makeup. Right? Imagine what kind of son-in-law this is, right? His wife's sitting shiva and he wants to force her to put on makeup. So he can't. Right? He has to turn over his bed, he has to sit shiva. And same thing if the woman's in-laws, meaning her husband's parents, die, because she's not allowed to put on makeup. She turns over the bed and she's not aveilus. We have a daven braysa. Even though the Chachamim said that he can't force his wife to put on makeup, she can really pour the kais for him, and she can make his bed for him, and she could wash his hands, feet, and face, right? And Rotaisis means with hot water. So clearly, he's not sitting shiva. If she's washing it with hot water, he's not sitting shiva for her parents. So kasha and adadi. So kasha, one braysa makes it sound like you do have to sit shiva for the in-laws, and one mashma you don't have to. No, one braysa.
That's new level. You got to sit shiva for the shviga. I mean, you know what I mean?
Correct. Well, yeah. Right? Let's see. One is talking about for the in-laws when the wife is sitting shiva for the in-laws, and one is talking about for other relatives. So we see from this that there is a difference. We only said for the in-laws, and that's it for the following and the mother-in-law. Right?
Is there any aveilus that today we have to be annoyed for a person's in-law?
So what's going on with this halacha today? Yeah, the Maisa, nobody keeps this halacha nowadays.
Don't you person keep it sinner?
Not just this halacha. A lot of what we just said. That last half of Amud.
Right. So we don't keep it nowadays. It's really unclear why we don't keep it nowadays. Why it is that, I mean, the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah, brings that the hanhaga for a kid whose parents are sitting shiva is that they have to keep some form of aveilus until after Shabbos. I'm not exactly sure where that comes from till after Shabbos, but that's what it says in Shulchan Aruch, to which the Ramah basically says that nowadays
they don't keep achokis and all they don't keep all this.
What I mean, that's out the person sitting shiva, right?
But not for your father sitting shiva, you don't have to keep it, right?
Correct. No. The kids would have to, there would be no relations and no going to weddings and no showering, no music, They don't sit shiva, but they would have to keep some aveilus. Right?
They don't take showers, the kids?
They're not supposed to. We don't keep it nowadays.
Oh, so you're saying why? You're saying why? How come?
No, could it be because they're not bebeisai?
Well, they are bebeisai.
Let's say the married kids, they're not bebeisai.
So that's more makel. Right?
But with these kids living in the house, I mean, they should.
Yes.
What happens if you have kids living in your house, but you're not sitting at home? You're sitting by your parents' house.
Right. So then that's more makel. But the bottom line is that
this is mom is talking about for grandparents, no?
Yes. Yeah. The bottom line is that the assumption is that nowadays the parents are moichel, and therefore they don't have to keep it. I personally go with the pasken who suggest, and the shaila, unfortunately, I get the shaila probably once a week. People ask this: do they have to keep any halachos? And you go to the parent and you ask mechila from the parent, and the parent usually grants it, and then you're done. You don't have to keep anything.
The in-laws again.
Same thing. You ask the wife to be Michael. Right? You ask the wife to be Michael, and then you don't have to You don't have to keep anything. That's the Hanhaga. Seems like that's why the Hanhaga became about like this, because it's the same reason why. How come we don't stand up when parents walk into? You see anybody stand up when the parents walk into the room nowadays?
You do.
I try to.
Who said it's the right thing?
Listen,
We probably
I
should be.
I only have to do it half the
Right.
time.
I hear that.
unfortunately.
We
Well,
probably
yeah,
should be. Who said it's the right thing?
You're right.
Would be way too much exercise.
Right? No, David, you're right. For Etzim, you should. But what's the lumdis? I mean, it's Halacha and Shulchan Aruch that want us to stand up for the parents as they come to the room. So the pasken says that the assumption is that nowadays the parents are Michael. The parents are Michael. So if they're Michael, then that's it. Right? So the same thing. It seems like this whole parenting business, whatever the lumdis is that you want to say that our door we don't have parenting, maybe nicht, right? But all these type of things that we assume that there's a built-in mechila, and therefore it's fine. So, but to be safe, you ask mechila, and then you're okay. I had somebody yesterday who actually asked this to me, and I said, ask for mechila. So they thought that the levaya they have to ask mechila from the nifta. I said, no. It was a good thing they asked, because I don't know if somebody stand up and say, hey, grandpa, or whatever, like, do you mind if I take a shower during shiva? That wasn't okay. I guess I wasn't clear. So Baruch Hashem, they had a follow-up question, and you asked the parent from mechila, and that's all. But again, if the parent's going to get upset, like, hey, why are you thinking about going to weddings when I'm sitting shiva? Then maybe Taki, you shouldn't ask mechila.
In that case, did the grandfather say anything?
Oh, I don't know if they actually. I think we caught it. We nipped it in the bud. We already asked them before they did that. But anyways, okay, we'll stop over here.
Standing up for somebody over 70.
Yeah. No, that's true too.
I would think it's a good chinuch thing that the mice, especially if the kids are involved with the grandparents and the grandparent passes away, some level of chinuch, that of aveilus, they should be knowing. I don't know what, but something.
Yeah, or no, but you're right. The Gemara says that. The Shulchan Aruch really says it. 100%. I agree with you. Yeah. Anyways, okay, we'll stop here.
Yeah. When my father was sitting shiva, I had a friend's wedding, and Rabbi Brown told me, unless it was a very close friend, not to go to the wedding.
Okay, so that's not the Hanhaga nowadays. The Hanhaga nowadays is that everybody goes and you ask Mechila. I had it also. I had a good friend's wedding by when my mother was sitting shiva way back. And I looked into it. Lamaisa Ramah says that it's nowadays the assumption the Velt doesn't keep it. I think it's a Ramah. So the safest way out is to just ask Mechila, and then. But yes, ultimately yes. Rabbi Brown is not that Rabbi Brown needs my askama, but I'm saying Rabbi Brown the etzem going with the dinim of Shulchan Aruch is yes, that's exactly right. But then a close friend's wedding shouldn't go either. He didn't want you to rely. I'm assuming he didn't want you to rely on the coolers unless it was for a close friend. That's what I'm assuming.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways. All right. So, now I gotta go back and do the recording for the first part of the doc. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hope Peretz is gonna have to cut and paste and all that.
Why don't you stop the recording and do another recording?
That's what I'm gonna do. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. We need Landau on to make fun of him a little bit so nobody misses it.
Exactly.
Yeah, turn it off.